Hello and welcome everybody to the Casual Spice Podcast, episode 42. I am Dakota, joined by my co-host Randy. How's it going, Randy?
Good. I'm glad you remembered the number. I definitely thought you were gonna stumble that one.
Yeah, me and Randall had talked about like I don't trust myself to remember the number 42, so I literally put it in my notes. And even as I was saying it, I was worried that I was gonna like say 43 or just something else. So anything other than the number that it actually is.
Yeah, we're kind of bad at like any kind of structure.
I did edit the number for the previous episode in it. I was like, oh hey, I actually remembered this part where I forgot, so boom, there it is. Boom,
I
boom,
haven't
boom.
listened to the previous episode. I just really hope that it's just cut in there though randomly, where it's just like, and we're back with our next episode 42.
No,
And anyway, like I just want it to be super badly edited, where it's just you can tell it's not, it shouldn't be there.
no, I literally just added a added a graphic that just said the number 42 and pointed to it as like, all right, cool,
Or
or 41.
41.
Yeah, 41.
41.
See, I don't even remember. I don't
Yeah.
remember. But
Uh,
today's episode, we're going to be focusing on standard because next weekend, well, from when we're recording this, but
yeah.
in uh, a little less than a week's time, we're going to be at the Pro Tour in Las Vegas for Pro Tour Secrets of Strixhaven. Of course, featuring standard, which seems to be getting back to its old ways. Randy, I don't know if I like it.
I don't know what you're talking about. Like, look, we have some like there's a couple different decks. We could play Is It? We can play Is It? We can play Is It? We can play Is It? Or you can play like the 40% deck to mirror mid range. I don't understand. Like you have options. You have all these options. I don't get there's four Is It decks. That's options, my friend. Look, back in my days, we only had one Is It deck and we were happy about it. Okay.
We have four different Izzet decks, and depending on which one you choose, just turns the dial of like how late is this deck going to actually win the game.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of great to see like what is it has become. Actually, the only thing I really can take away from this is I'm happy that Eddie Mertcrab is finally being like showcased as like a good playable card. Because I played this card back when Beans was legal, back in that standard period, and I was like, why are we not funding this? This card's amazing. And not, I mean, we were doing it with some trash cards as well. Like we were playing Unsummons and the Green Catch card where you can get a permanent from
Hmm.
Mill 4 and get a permanent from one of those four. And you're really hoping to hit the Terror or the Eddie Merc Crab. And you get real sad when you just put four cards into the graveyard. Or let me phrase that. What really happens is you play this card on turn two, going, all right, I'm gonna make my Eddie Merc crabs cheaper, and you just real land, beans, beans. You're like, all right, I'm gonna put one instant and or sorcery card into my graveyard. Why did I play this deck?
Oh yeah, so it's going to be a hot lineup from this standard format because it literally it's no joke. There is four pretty viable is it options in the format, and literally it's just do you want to take the more aggressive slant? Do you want to be in this more like mid rangey where classically you could be this deck that could be a little bit faster, or you could play more of a mid range strategy, or are you kind of in this like tempo-y tempo or like value camp, as I'll kind of put it. And I'm sure you'll put more eloquently than I will. And then you have really the rest of the field that is also trying to do their fair share of unfair things because the Izzet decks are, for the most part, I would say, trying to be the more fair strategies in kind of these matchups and in a lot of the cases currently in the standard metagame.
Yeah, I mean the Izzet decks are really like the fair value decks. Essentially, is what they become, and then you have the things that are trying to get like either go unfair, like you have like the like mono green or like the green black and Celestia decks and stuff. They're just like trying to go super big and over the top. You got the mirror mid range, which is trying to play a mid range value game plan badly. Um, and then you have like the Jeskai and like the four color control decks, which are just trying to go over the top with like big spells or just like control the opponent until eventually they die of either boredom whatever it is they use to kill you. I don't know. After turn 20, I just kind of like, yeah, we're still playing. How much time is left on clock? Can I just like get this in my favor? Do I need to concede? What's going on? And then the Demir Executor or Cruciator, not Executor, Cruciator.
Oh,
I
but
can read. I promise.
Demir
Um,
Demir Mill.
yeah, Demir Mill basically, which is a combo deck that can play like a mid range plan effectively well, I think, and against like the is it aggressive decks and stuff, they're definitely more looking towards like turn 4, put you in a position where you need to either kill me this turn or I'm going to kill you next turn, type situation. So definitely a lot more things are doing unfair things or either unfair or trying to be super controlling, and then somehow is the good guy. Well, Jason marks heavily on good guy. Like, at least compared to what we've seen of Izzet decks, where it's like, oh, it's Corey Steelcutter, and yeah, you made 4 guys because you played 2 spells that you wanted to play. Awesome. Or it's VB, where it's like, oh, yeah, you cast some spells, and then you went infinite and standard on turn 3. I
Hmm.
Sure, sure, yeah. At least now it's just like I can interact with this and not just die on turn 2, turn 3.
Look, let's be honest. I don't think there's any heroes in standard. I think at best it is probably the anti-hero of this format because like mono green is absolutely nasty. I've played quite a bit of that, on stream and everything, in the
Yeah.
past, and like I just picked up that deck and got ninth place in a challenge the first week that I picked it up, and then played it the next week and made the top 8. Like that deck is just super gross and goes pretty deep. Excruciator, has like 2 different modes. It's either win the game relatively quickly, as fast as a mill deck can actually win, or play this control role and then just get value from deceit plus like superior Spider-Man stuff. So I mean, I don't know if we actually have any heroes in this format.
I mean, that's fair. I can argue there's no like real heroes, except whatever your pet deck is, viewer. You're the real
Yes,
hero.
yes, your 80 card 5 color special control deck that also has like a 13 card combo finish is the actual hero of the format.
Oh, but do you want to start going through like the Izzet decks and kind of like explain the quote differences of them?
Yeah. So kind of like what Randy's saying, we'll cover the 4 different versions of the Izzet decks that we're expecting to see from this weekend, and what I would imagine a lot of the players are kind of like more or less like what the testing houses are probably debating are, finding out what's the best version of is it, and then figuring out like, okay, what's the rest of the metagame that we expect. So we'll start with the is it decks, and then we'll get into some of the other decks that are performing well in this current metagame and are putting up some results in those online challenges and in those events. I guess we'll start with like is it prowess, because I think that's I mean, probably the one that gets a lot of people, like the eye twitch and, probably slamming their keyboard the most, just from the damage it did a year ago when we had Corey Steele and Vivi and all these other cards.
And now it still does the eye twitch because your opponent just like goes turn 2, plot a slick shot show off, and you're like, you just look at your hand, like, no flyers, no removal spells in my hand. Am I just dead next turn?
And a very annoying elusive otter on the battlefield. It's like, what is this even doing here?
Yeah. So I mean, the core of is it prowess? Like if you haven't been playing standard, haven't been paying attention to standard, or don't kind of really know what's going on with standard, is essentially they play elusive otter, which is a 1/1 for 1 prowess creature that also has a really cute ability. It says creatures with power less than this creature's power can't block it, which you're like, it's a 1/1. How big could it be, Michael?
Michael.
Unfortunately, they also play a million one-drop spells and Wild Ride. Some number of Wild Rides. I know that card's starting to get cut from the deck because they just have better spells now. But so like when you make your elusive otter into a 4/4, it turns out that most of the time your opponents don't have a 4/4 creature that can also block it. So essentially, it's an unblockable prowess creature, which is just super fun. We have, Slickshot show off that has flying, haste, a 1/2. Can also just be plotted, so you can spend 2 mana, and then, the turn you decide to go off, you're like, oh, cool, I'll just play my free flying creature in here real quick. And then has a double prowess, but not really. It gets +2 for every spell you cast, so it's like double prowess, but the toughness never gets bigger, so at least it's killable.
Hmm.
And then like it's just playing a plethora of like 1-drop spells. Like we have like boomerang basics to go along with our storm chaser's talents. For that like little combo, we got burst lightning, sleight of hands, ops, um, octopus form as a protection spell, and then we're playing like stock ups and or flow states, with flow state being the new like hotness that just came from secrets, where it's 2 mana, 1 in the blue, sorcery. You get to look at the top 3 cards of your library. You get to put one of them into your hand, and the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. Although if you have an instant and a sorcery card in your graveyard already, you get to put 2 of those in your hand, and then put the last card on the bottom. So essentially um, a special iteration at home type card.
Actually, I probably like
And
mini
then
stock up.
yeah, mini stock up, mini yeah. I guess however you want to quantify it. And then the newest hotness with these decks before like they got flow state from the new set is they started realizing that Eddie Merc Crab is just a good way to beat the mirror match, because you get to tap down your opponent's creatures, so that your opponent spends all this time playing spells. They go to your combat phase, like, cool. Let's I'm gonna flash in my 5/5 creature that just taps down 2 of your creatures as well. So it's great. You played 7 spells. That's great. Good job for you. I'm gonna take no damage this turn. I'm not gonna kill you on the crackback.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, it's a pretty like basic deck or basic idea of Is It Prowess is, play cheap creatures, play a bunch of cheap spells to pump them, and then just beat your opponent to death with little creatures that grow bigger from you doing what you want to do. Um, Deck really hasn't changed too much. Like I said, the biggest change is it's gotten flow state from the new set. They're playing Eddie Merc Crabs in the main now is like another big thing, but it's a deck that can grind way better than anyone would think it is, because usually like these aggressive aggro prowess decks run into the problem like, all right, well I played all my spells, my opponent like killed 1 or 2 of my creatures, I got like 10 to 12 damage in, but like what am I doing to get there? And so it's like, well, it turns out when you have Storm Chaser's talent and Boomerang basics to kind of infinitely buy back a creature every turn, and now we have flow state to get 2 cards for 1 card. We're playing stock up to get 2 cards for 1 card. We just kind of can outvalue with the best of them, which is crazy when you look at like a deck that essentially is playing like 31 drops, and it's like, okay, well, I'll just run them out of gas. And it's like, well, you won't.
Yeah. Yes, that is very true. And I guess something that we could have prefaced before, and now thinking about it, is that like I think between the Izzet decks, I think like the mana base for the most part is like the same across all of them. I know there's some differences where some of them want to play
Yeah,
the multiversal passage, others wanting to go for the storm carved coast, depending on
yeah.
how badly they want most
If they
slash
can,
all of their lands to come into play untapped.
yeah. So like the Izzet Prowess deck is the deck that's running the multiverse passage. So like basically all the decks are going to be running 4 Steam Vents, 4 Spider Bluff Canals, and 4 River Pyre Verge. And almost all of them are also running like 7 islands. And the two lands that keep changing realistically are Multiverse of the Passage or the Storm Coast, Storm Carved Coast.
Hmm.
But like so, Prowess once the multiverse passes, they basically never want they like the first like 3 turns of their game plan. They need to lands to all come into play untapped and make the mana they need to make. Because like if Prowess can get a super hedge like on the first 3 turns and just kind of like put you on the back foot, they're golden. Now, obviously, like if you can, slow them down and stop them, they can, like I said, grind with the best of them and still kill you on turn 20 after they've depleted you of removal spells and they've cast Storm Chaser's Talent for the 12th time when they only play 4.
Hmm.
But like that's kind of their goal, is like they need their mana to be untapped the first like 3 to 4 turns, so where like they can just like go, whoops, 1 drop, play 4 spells, kill you, and you're like, oh well, cool. Good thing I had that 1 removal spell that didn't get me there.
Yep. And to even go further, a lot of the main deck stuff. I mean, Randy pointed out, Boomerang Basics, Storm Chaser's Talent. I want to say like, well, I guess I shouldn't blanket like all the Izzet decks, because Lessons gets to be the weird one of the family, just because they want to play more Lessons cards because their cards care about Lessons. But between the other 3 Izzet decks, I mean, we're seeing like Burst Lightning, Boomerang Basics, the Storm Chasers talent. We're seeing Flow State. It seems like a lot of them at 4 copies, like stock up being around like 1 to 2, just because of
Yeah.
Flow State. We see like Prismari Charm showing up at like 1 to 2 copies. Eddie Merc Crab, a lot of them playing, yeah, Eddie Merc up to like 4
So
total.
Edinburgh Crab's up to 4 total, and then a lot of the decks playing Prismartic Commander playing 4.
You seen 4? Oh shit.
Yeah, like Spell Elementals just plays 4.
Oh, okay. I could see Spell
Uh,
Metals playing. I've seen some of the other Izzadecks
yeah,
like
some of,
playing about 2,
yeah,
roughly.
so like anything that's not Spell Elementals is playing like between like 1 and 2, and then Spell Elementals is playing 4. And I'll explain the
Yep.
magical Christmas land of why Elementals is playing 4 when we get to it. But like Izzet Prowess is essentially like you said, the deck that everyone pretty much knows,
Hmm.
barring like if you just haven't been playing standard, right? Because like I know a lot of people tuned out of standard when we went from Steel Cutter into Vivi. So like once those cards kind of got banned, I know people came back into it. And then Izzet wasn't big when it first came back because like Izzet kind of had to like rebuild and go, okay, well what do we do now?
Hmm.
And like the lessons deck was like the best is it deck to play at the time, because this is like we're just going to outvalue you. We have a win con that like most people can't interact with in game one, and game two we can sideboard and go into some weird stuff, yada yada, whatever. But yeah, I mean essentially is it prowess is just we're trying to kill you fast on game one. We can grind if we need to, and then their sideboard is all about answering the decks that are good against them and being able to grind better. Like they're playing like more Eddie Merc Crabs in the sideboard, Row, Clackling Wit. They're playing in the sideboard, so like just ways that they can have more creatures essentially, and then just playing removal spells and counter spells, kind of like what you do with these type of decks. There's not really anything to like say, and the sideboard's always changing too. Like I don't think we'll go too deep into any of the sideboards because like what you expect to play against is what you're going to sideboard against. So like you're not like if you look at any of these decks on any given week, their sideboard's always different outside of like Rao and Eddie Merc Crab being in the sideboard.
Yeah, it's definitely seems like a lot of them opt for like more removal and essentially like willing to play like a slower game plan, even with the aggressive version of Visit Prowess. Like when I picked up the deck and played it, I was like, I wonder if this deck a lot of the time is just sideboarding out 10 to 12 cards, potentially 15, and just bringing 15 cards in and just saying, like, unless you're trying to race me, like I take out all my aggressive stuff and I just play more like a control deck. And I think that's really kind of the idea for really all of these decks is just to like, however hard they have their foot on the pedal, they take it off just a little bit to just kind of in general be a more over the top blue red deck than just being this like kill you out of nowhere or kill you out of nowhere like is a deck.
Yeah. I guess let's go with Lessons on next. That's kind of the other deck that everyone should know about.
Yeah, and kind of the oddball of, well, when you have these 4 groupings of Izzet decks, like this is more of the oddball, just again for how the deck has to be constructed to be in this archetype.
Yeah. I will say too, Lessons has now kind of come full circle in the sense of like it's no longer playing the artist talent and monument package, and it's learned that it can just be it's almost the control deck of the Izzet decks essentially.
Oh yeah.
So like they're still playing Gran as a creature because it still cares about lessons, makes all your stuff cheaper. They're going back to playing 4 Boomerang Basics and 4 Storm Chasers Talent. Just a great value card. We've seen this hundreds of times again. Of course, they're playing like the fire bending lesson. They're playing a cumulative wisdom. Basically, the whole reason to play lessons, being able to have essentially ancestral recall in standard is a good reason to play lessons. Also playing, combustion's technique, another like high powered payoff of being able to kill pretty much any creature in standard with it. They're also playing, or at least the one deck that we're looking at is also playing Flow State, which I think kind of showcases the power of Flow State. Like when we have, ancestral visions at home, and we're also like, but what if we had more card draw? Like I think that kind of just showcases like how strong Flow State is. This is not financial advice by any means, but if you plan to play blue in standard, pick up your Flow States now. Like I don't see this card dropping below probably like $4 or $5 ever, as long as it's in standard. Like as long as blue is playable in standard, this card's gonna see play.
Oh my god,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. And then just playing, some of the other lessons like abandoned attachments and stuff like that. But they've also gone to four Eddie Merc crabs, or at least this version is playing four Eddie Merc crabs, which I think is kind of crazy. Like, this is how lessons started off when it first got like spoiled. And I know like I saw Doomwake first build lessons and some other like big name streamers build lessons. Like they were playing Grand Eddie Merc crab because you can like combo your Grand with Eddie Merc crab and like when you flash in, you can tap down your own Grand and draw a card, discard a card. Like obviously that's not what we're doing anymore, but like Eddie Merc Crab is kind of like the seems to be the go-to finisher of like these decks where it's just it's seen playing almost everything. But this is definitely more of a control the board state. I'm gonna win with Eddie Merc Crab and Storm Chaser's talent beats essentially. This one was also trying out the new Great Hall of Biblioplex, um,
Oh yeah.
which I don't necessarily know is if it's a playable card.
It's certainly a card.
Yeah, it's the new Manland that we got from Secrets, where it has the same thing as uh, the other colorless land.
Oh, oh no, what is it?
Yeah, but
That
it has the
one.
same ability. Yeah, the same ability where you pay 5 mana and now becomes a creature permanently instead of have to pay it every time. And it's also like obviously it's a good finisher in this type of deck too, where it becomes a 2/4 that gets essentially +1 every time you play an instant or sorcery. You're playing, you know, 26 instants and sorceries, so it's not like you're ever going to be at a loss for them. But it is interesting to see is it lessons go from the Monument Artist Talent deck to just a spell based control deck, essentially.
Hey, I'm in for it too because this list that I'm looking at right now is playing Emeritus of Ideation in its sideboard. And
They're
I've
like,
heard your odds of winning a game of Magic go up exponentially the more times you resolve Ancestral Recall. I'm just saying.
look, they're trying to play a total of like 8 Ancestral Recalls, okay? Every game.
See, that's just like absolutely mind blowing to me. Jeez. Wow, wow,
I also
wow.
think I also think it's interesting it's playing Sunderflock in the sideboard too. Like I think it's an interesting way to take lessons essentially, because like you're already playing Eddie Merc Crab, and now you also have like the Thunderflock to just like kind of like the lessons deck definitely struggles against like mono green as a whole because it just kind of creates an infinite army of creatures, and like just being able to after sideboard go like, oh that man, you made so many different land creatures, that's crazy. They're all in your hand now.
Boop. And then Grand gets to go for a ride too, which I mean, I'm sure makes her old soul very happy.
Oh yeah.
Wee.
But no, I mean, I think these are just definitely like the two most known Izzet decks, right? Is Prowess and Lessons. They've been around since like the start of this, standard season or last standard season that we had. Everyone kind of knows about these two decks. It's not like anything crazy. It is interesting to see how they keep evolving though. Like Izzet Lessons has definitely done the biggest, like just 180 of just like, yeah, we had the monument and we like get that out of here. Crab is better. I was like, I think it's just kind of crazy to see like see is it lessons just kind of do that and just like do a 180 of just like no we're gonna change everything we've been doing.
Oh yeah, the yeah, definitely the amazing part being that even to the point of playing cards like Three Steps Ahead, which had like the neat interaction of like being able to make a copy of your monument and then getting to draw a discard if you didn't have anything you wanted to counter or whatever, to then be able to get two monument triggers like with one spell.
Yeah, yeah, and now it's just like nah, get that shit out of here.
Yeah, like
We don't do that anymore.
draw two, discard one, draw. So essentially, draw four, discard a card is like absolutely busted
Yeah,
virtually.
but it is interesting, so I'm curious to see if the pro players like I my hot take though is it lessons I think might be the worst is it deck to play, or like I think it's on the bottom end. I think it's like tied for third or fourth for like if you're gonna play it as a deck where you want to be.
Yeah, I think even way back when I preferred the more aggressive versions of Izzet, and I don't know I think just by my play style I'm just bred to not like the is it lessons versions of the deck. I probably shouldn't even like the self balance versions, but I kind of like just casting the same spell over and over again for like 5 turns in a row because like I just keep drawing cards and making dudes.
Yeah. Should we go into the self bounce deck?
Oh yeah,
All right. Do you want to talk about this one since you kind of like it?
for sure. I would love to talk about the self bounce deck. Because for whatever reason, the same player on Magic Online just keeps winning like challenge after challenge with like this self bounce deck. So it plays basically like 80% of the cards, including mana base, from like the other Is It decks that are not named Is It Lessons. But it definitely goes full all in on like the Eddie Merc Crab. This is where we start seeing cards like Roaring Furnace, which I guess Roaring Furnace is also now at least seeing play in some of the Lessons decks. Um, a great early removal spell, and it's just something you can do with your mana later to, start drawing extra cards. Also means that you don't have any max hand size, so you can start really getting into flow state and can start casting them and not worrying about hand size and like having to play out a bunch of your things. But you end up seeing the Izzet deck starting to take more of a, mid range, bordering on like control role. I think in the self bounce deck because you can do all these cool things with Eddie Merc Crab, disrupting your opponent's attack step, having just a big flash threat in play, as well as just being able to sideboard into a more controlling deck, getting like Raw Crackling Wits, Broadside Barrage, being able to draw a discard and giving you the flexibility of hitting your opponent's Rows, which I really like. And yeah, I think that this style of like deck where you can aggro your opponent out with like slick shot show off and doing kind of your storm chaser bounce thing or whatever is really neat. But I also just like the fact of there's enough neat tricks to where I'm willing to play a little bit slower of a deck to kind of value my opponent out in that way.
Yeah, and it's also the first time we're seeing Pismari Charm essentially make it into the deck. Like the list I'm looking at is playing one of them, which I mean overall the card's just good. It's is it colors, so a red and a blue, and you get to either surveil two, then draw a card, deal one damage to each of one or two targets, and then or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So like you can essentially buy back your Eddie Merc Crab if you want to, like instant speed, or you can bounce like one of their problematic permanents. Things like that. This is really good.
Mm. I also love it as a side note to all this. I absolutely love it when there's charms in a set and the charms are actually constructed playable, not just like draft, like just good signposts like draft cards. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, like I love when charms are playable. Like it just makes it feels like you're doing something right when that happens. Like I remember I think the first time I played in Magic, like when charms were like playable was Return to Ravnica. Like
Mm-hmm.
the first time we returned to Ravnica, not the 12th time.
Oh
And like
yeah.
they had the charms and like I remember like casting a bunch of like I remember casting like multiple different charms in that standard time frame and like it never felt like I was like dumb for doing it. Like it wasn't like, oh, this is like my budget card because I can't afford the good cards. It's like, no, this is just a playable card.
Oh yeah. And I absolutely love Prismari Charm. Prismari Charm doing all the right things.
I mean, Primary Charm definitely feels like the most busted charm too. Like, just like, yeah, I just want to do it all. Like, can I just have it all? Like, I replace myself. I give you card selection. I kill little creatures, and I just bounce problematic permanents.
Even
Because
like
like notably, it just says non-land permanent, so it's not even like, oh, just the bounce a creature. So it's like it just feels so dumb when like because like this is gonna happen at some point where someone's gonna slam a high noon and just like be uber big brain, like I slowed my opponent down, and your opponent's just gonna go cool. End of turn, Prismari Charm, untap. I'm gonna play 12 spells and kill you.
mm-hmm.
That was cool. I'm glad you got to play your 2 mana hate card. I played my 2 mana main deckable card that just answers your hate card.
Yeah, Charm stock is probably going up. I'm gonna regret not buying this card sooner.
You haven't bought them yet.
Not yet. Don't. They're supposed to gloss over that fact.
But yeah, this is definitely more of a like a mixture between like kind of like the Spelementals plan and the Is It Prowess play, where like we're gearing more towards a mid range plan. Like we're playing like spell pierces. Some decks are playing like Get Out as like counter spells and interaction that like you don't see in the Prowess deck. Because the Prowess deck is all about I'm gonna have these threats. I need you to have the answers to answer them, and if you don't, you're gonna be on the back foot. And you're gonna be having a bad time. And this deck is like, oh, look, I'm gonna have threats you have to answer, but I plan to disrupt whatever you think you're gonna do.
Oh there's just enough neat tricks going on here where it feels like there is some mystery, and definitely if you're not prepared for it, you can just run into a lot of like, okay, well this is the turn I need to go for it. Oh well, they just bounced and played Eddie Crab, and then bounced and played another one, or whatever the case may be, with 5 mana, and now not only can I not attack this turn, but like now they just get to hit me for 10 and have all their mana available to them to just potentially kill me. So,
It's definitely just a good deck, and definitely the evolution we're seeing with the Izzet decks.
oh yeah, I just convinced myself to play this deck. I have to
Yeah,
put the
I mean
horsies in
that's
the binder.
and then so going on to the Spelemental deck, this is a deck that I think is vastly underplayed in Standard. I'm a big advocate of this deck. That's mainly because I won 2 RCQs with it, and like the deck just felt untouchable. Like I don't know why more people aren't playing this deck. To be perfectly honest. So this deck plays around the whole idea of one wanting to play with your graveyard and getting spells into your graveyard so you can cast, expensive spells for a lot cheaper. So like we're playing 4 Hearth Elemental, which is 5 in a red for a 4/5, but it costs X less, where X is number of cards in your graveyard that are instant sorcery cards or have adventure on them. The adventure is notable because if you like discard a health elemental, it has an adventure ability that isn't really relevant. Like you discard your hand and draw 2 cards. You're only ever doing that when you only have like this card in your hand. But like notably, it does make the other Hearth Elementals cheaper if you have to discard it to like a Winter Night Stories or something. You're playing 4 Eddie Crab because why wouldn't you be? And then you're playing 4 Thunderflock because your creatures also happen to be elemental, so you get to make your elemental creature 5/5 flyer that bounces everything. It's not an elemental cheaper as well. But
Sheesh.
this deck is definitely like we're still playing the 4 ops, 4 sleight of hands, 4 burst lightning. We get to play spell snare and spell pierce as more interaction, and then this deck is playing 4 Prismari charms. So the reason why this deck is playing 4 Prismari charms is because if you get to live in magical Christmas land, where you get to go like turn 1 sleight of hand, turn 2, hold up interaction for what your opponent's doing, play Prismari charm end of turn, just surveil 2, put 2 spells into your graveyard, put this into your graveyard. You can start hard casting any crabs on turn 3. Like that is just like yes, it's like magical Christmas land, but that's also like you're playing 27 spells. Like you came here to put spells in the graveyard. Like this is what we're gonna do. And then it
Oh,
also has Dramatic Critique, which is a new card from um uh oh my gosh,
secrets.
I almost said Shadows. I was like, that's not the correct secrets. So it's X and blue and red instant. It deals X damage to any target, and you draw 2 cards, and discard a card. This just gives the deck so much more reach now, to where like there was some times where like you eventually get into like these weird board stalls because you can't find your Thunderflock to like bounce it and just make it easy, or like you get into like this weird thing where if your opponent's holding up removal and stuff like that, like they're game planning for you, and then you get to just go end of turn. Cool, I'm gonna deal you like 4 damage and draw 2 cards and get rid of like the worst card in my hand. Like this card is just so good, and like it got to replace like a very mediocre card this deck was already playing, um, which was the Abandoned Attachment, which was like draw 2, discard a card, lesson card. Like now you get to just play a card that like has better. Like oh man, it's turn 12 and I haven't killed my opponent, and I have 7 mana. I guess I'm just gonna dump them for 5.
Bang.
And then of course like playing Winter Night Stories because this card just is amazing in this type of deck.
Gotta love your value.
Oh yeah, but I think this is by not by far, but I think this is the best is a deck that you can be playing right now. It has a good game against the Prowess deck with like Thunderflock and being able to bounce all their like Prowess tokens and like their little 1/1s and stuff like that. And it just to me it's very well positioned. It's good against the green decks that are running around and things like that. I'm trying to sell people on this deck because I need more people to play this deck because they still understand how good it is. I can't wait though for the Pro Tour to come out. This deck have like a 23% win rate or something abysmal, and just like I'm wrong.
Well, it's only going to be that way because people are going to be playing the horse, and it's an elemental.
Yeah,
We're going to point and laugh at your Sunderflock because we have a bunch of 3/3 horses.
I mean you have 1/3/3 horses. You're not playing 5 mana for a spell.
Yeah, we are. We can kick Burst Lightning.
Like I said,
I think that's the part that gets me with this stupid horse because, like, so it's not a deck that's going to show up, I'm sure. But Dom Harvey, I think, split like the finals of a standard challenge with essentially an is it like mid range / control deck, but like the win condition was Color Storm Stallion, which has 3 mana 3/3 ward paying 1 mana and haste, and then basically has prowess. But if you would spend 5 or more mana to cast an instant or sorcery, you get to make a copy of Color Storm Stallion. And I'm so convinced that the Godfather of Amulet would not steer me wrong. So I panic bought 4 Color Storm Stallions at roughly a nickel a piece, just in case.
I will say I like that Wizards finally has like started to learn their lessons too, because notably that horse says pay 5 or more mana, not cast a 5 or more mana spell. Because like I was looking into it, and I was like, when I first like looked at it, because I'm so used to Wizards just having bad like tech like template on it. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I'm just gonna harmonize my Winter Night stories and get a free 3/3. I'm like, that's not how that works. You have to actually physically pay 5 or more mana. Wizards has finally learned how to write cards. It took them 31 years, but we got there, folks. We finally did
Well, hold
it.
on, hold on. There's still plenty of time. There is plenty of time to mess that up.
Yeah, I know. Next set they'll mess it up. It's fine.
Well, and I'm curious how many people end up just thinking that, like, oh well, it's like spend like a 5 mana cost spell, like, okay, I get the thing, and thinking it's like beans, where obviously it's nothing like beans. It's probably what the idea behind up the beanstalk.
Oh yeah, it's 100% the idea of what the Beanstalk was supposed to do, and then Wizards forgot that they printed like free spells and forgot that like, oh yeah, by the way, Force of Will is just a free spell. You get to now draw a card. Remember Force of Will's pesky like cost of removing a card? What if you just got to draw a card too? So like really you're just like you're discarding a card to draw a card. Like there's nothing wrong with
Mm-hmm.
that. That's a looting effect. It's
Uh,
just like
I essentially get to pay a life to counter your spell.
yeah, or the pitch elementals that just happen to be five costs or more. Oh, look, I just happen to pitch a card, draw a card, or more than one card if I have multiple beans out, and it's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
Life feels good.
But no, I mean those are essentially the four Izzet decks that are running around. There might even be a fifth one that comes to be with the Pro Tour because like obviously everything's changing and we have some of the greatest minds of Magic working on trying to break the format. I don't think the format's going to be broken. I don't foresee like this Pro Tour being like, wow, I can't believe we didn't know this combo deck was the best deck in the format. I don't see anything like getting broken like that. I just see like good decks becoming better. Maybe some new decks come out because there's definitely a lot of like interesting things in secrets, but I don't see anything like I see a lot of stuff that would be playable if Wizards had a smaller standard.
Yeah. I will say this seems like a very good time to piggyback off of like the format not being totally broken, or like maybe there being a deck that like is rather unknown that ends up breaking out. And it just reminds me of, I think it was Pro Tour Final Fantasy when Paulo's team was playing the Vivi Cauldron deck before Vivi Cauldron. And after the initial bans of Izzet, everyone's like, was this team just playing the best version of Izzet and we didn't know it? Like, so I don't think we're going to have a situation like that, but, there. I guess there could be with like 15 different versions of Is It. One of them will probably find it and they'll be like, well, this is like 13th on our radar. So I guess the other team got there before we did.
Yeah. But if you're looking to play, in the upcoming RCs and you don't want to play Is It because reasons, there's
Mm-hmm.
always, mono green landfall. which I think you have more experience than I do about this deck. If you want to talk about kind of what's going on with that deck and what it's pretending to be.
Oh boy, where do I even start? So a lot of this mono green deck, you're essentially trying to get like might form harmonized. Ideally, your setup is like a creature and then Ice Still Explorer plus Might Form Harmonizer. Might Form doubling target creature's power every time you play a land. Ice Still allowing you to play additional lands and playing lands from your graveyard. You get to mill when you play a land. And the idea is that you kind of set up like this combo where you can escape tunnel a small creature, so creature power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn, and then you just play a bunch of fetch lands, and I believe the math comes out to a 32 power creature if they start out at 2 power and you hit your opponent, and 32 damage is probably going to win the game. You also have like Earthbender's Ascension to once you get that going, it helps with your ramp plan. It technically gives you a creature, and it will eventually, when you get 4 more counters on it, give a creature a +1/+1 counter and trample. So it gets to pull double duty of like, you stack your triggers right, you give it the counter, then you double the power, give it the counter, double the counter, so on, or double the power, whatever. It ends up being absolutely massive, and it has trample. So even if your opponent would be able to block it, they're probably not going to be able to put enough toughness in front of it. They also have this Esper Origins card, which they hadn't played before, and now they're back to playing like 3. It looks like 3 copies now. That can give them a little bit of card selection, but then also gives them like an overrun effect. So while they're, doing kind of their thing and they're making all these land creatures, well, now they're 4/4 tramplers and so on. It's just a deck that can kind of win the game out of nowhere. It can just generate a ton of mana and really either just trample over all of your stuff, but it also has backup ways where if it doesn't get an Ascension going, it's going to give a creature unblockable. It's going to play 4-5 lands in a single turn and then kill you.
Yeah, I mean, I think pretty well said as a whole. Um, it is going to be interesting to see, I think, what players or what people do with the mono green deck, because I think it's a super powerful deck, but I think there is a lot of like, do you play this? Do you not play this? I know for the longest time they were playing Royal Treatment, like the protection spell,
Mm.
and I thought that was the most ingenious thing ever. And like, it seems like they're back off of it, which I'm happy as like someone who plays removal spells. Like, I'm great. I'm glad you're not going to protect your creatures. I've never understood why this deck doesn't play Royal Treatment, because like a lot of times you're going like all in on like a might form harmonizer type plan with one creature, and it's just like I've loved watching my opponents do this, especially like with the Spellmentals deck, where like opponents like, oh, I got them now, like I'm warping out harmonizer, I've got Ice Tail going, they're dead. It's just like they do all this, I'm like, cool, I like to bounce off your creature,
Mm-hmm.
and they just kind of look at me, I'm like, yeah, you can go back to your hand. By the way, I'm next turn I'm gonna attack you for 10 in the air, so I'm not
I
like.
Yeah, yeah. I am of the belief after like playing this deck and really diving into it, I almost feel like this is the Amulet Titan deck of like the standard format. Because even though I literally talked about probably like a half hour ago that I picked up mono green, like knowing a little bit but not knowing like all the tricks of it, and doing fairly well. I mean, top 16ing back-to-back challenges, making top 8 in one of them, whatever. I think this deck has a lot of interesting places where like you can do playing like a Fabled Passage and then using the Badgermole Cub like Earthbend on it, or doing it on like Promising Vein, or getting to do it with like Earthbender's Ascension, like those kinds of things. It's just like the small things that you can get where you maximize like those landfall triggers to then like get a big enough creature, and then also finding like setups where like, okay, my opponent can absolutely blow me out if they have like one removal spell. How do I get 2 lethal threats in play to where they're forced to block both of these, and even if they have an answer for one, they're not going to have the right answer for the other one. And that's happened to me too, where I've played against like mono green and like they've gone in on one threat, and then I've played against people that have more experience with mono green, and they've been able to push in for lethal with like 3 different creatures, in which at that point it's like, yeah, sure, I could do this, but like there's still one like 32 power creature that's coming in to kill me. So I think mono green. If there's going to be a mono green deck that performs well, it's going to be somebody who has like that, Amulet Titan esque like dedication to it, where it's like we're gonna find all these different setups to where like, okay, what does my board need to look like to play through X amount of interaction spells, and what those interaction spells are, and how I can maximize my value off of Earthbending, off of like Ice Till Explorer, and even finding the right time to play like Esper Origins, like Flashback, and get that going to set up the overrun turns as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, it's definitely like playing against skilled players versus playing against unskilled players. Which I mean, like that's I don't know, not to say it's every deck, but it's every deck, right? Because like I definitely played against like a prowess players who like just go in and like, yep, cool. Here's one removal spell because you thought you were just gonna kill me. And then I played against prowess players who were like, all right, I've cast 14 of my 16 removal spells in the first 4 turns. How are you still like presenting lethal? I don't understand this. Like I know what you did, I know how we got here, but I don't understand it.
Oh yeah. The downside to this mono green deck, unfortunately, is the fact that we're not playing Green Shell plus Sapling Nursery in the main deck, just because that's not good. That's not good enough anymore. But I absolutely got such a huge high off of like getting to do that I just wish we could still do it.
I will say there's nothing better than like I had my opponent do that to me, and then like they're like cool. They did this, they did all that stuff, and I was like, all right, um, next turn, like they couldn't kill me because they don't have haste. I was like, all right, yeah, you got 400 guys, got it, okay. They're not elemental, right? Like the tokens you're making, no, they're tree folk. Okay, Thunderflock. I just kind of like looked. I'm like, yeah, I like you to take your board state and just go like this. Just go ahead and scoop up all the board state, put it back in your hand.
Unfortunate. But
No,
I mean,
it's 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 great.
if there was a non is it deck to like, if you were really apprehensive of registering Steam events for an event, I recommend registering 14 basic forests and playing this deck.
Interesting, because I there's so I would argue that mono. I think mono green's also very good, but I think there's also the like green black mid range deck that's running around, as well as like a green white one that's running around, and I think those are also both very viable decks
Mm.
essentially. Like I kind of crazy like go guardian mid range just made a full circle back into being playable.
Oh yeah.
So like it is essentially just we're playing the rock is all we're doing. Golgari mid range is just essentially the rock. We're playing Land of Worlds, Badger Mole, um, Sharpshooter, the new Tragedy Feaster, the 4 mana 7/6 trample ward discard a card. But so at the beginning of your end, and then at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice a permanent unless you gain life this turn. We're
Oh
just
yeah.
playing we're just playing a big beefy beater apparently. And then new planeswalker as well, Professor. The Professor Dillion Fell,
Mm.
4 mana 5 loyalty. So like kind of starts off pretty beefy. You have your +2 that you gain 3 life, so that's a thing. Zero ability lets you draw a card and lose a life. -3 lets you just destroy a creature, and then -6 you get an emblem where whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So I mean, like definitely this, we are here to outvalue our opponents and beat them with a 7/6 trampler. We have duresses, requiting hex, bitter triumph, shoot the sheriff, um, Witherbloom charm, another charm that's playable. You can sacrifice a permanent, draw 2 cards, gain 5 life, which not really relevant. Or destroy target non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. Like just good value things.
Yeah.
Just kind of crazy that like we have come full circle to. Oh, we're also playing 4 Unholy Annex because why wouldn't we be?
I mean, if you think about it, with the right set of circumstances, Witherbloom Charm is a more was it a more efficient burn spell than Boros Charm.
Yes, yes. If you have Professor's Emblem, you can also then just dome your opponent for
It's
5
green black Boros Charm.
with extra steps.
I mean, like you get to play a sweet green black planeswalker. Totally cool with that. And then eventually you're paid off by having 2 mana deal 5.
Yeah, Also, notably, the tragedy feaster is a demon too to go along with your unholy annex.
Mm-hmm. Um,
Um,
and I think too, someone asked how it worked that if you have Tragedy Feaster in play, you are able to drain
Stack
your
of triggers.
opponent. Yeah, you're able to stack them correctly where you don't have to sacrifice a permanent.
Yeah, because the infusion will be the requirements will be met before the infusion goes off. I'm gonna stack my triggers to where tragedy goes first and then unholy annex. So then when they resolve and holy annex resolves first, you lose two, I gain two. Infusion happens, I gain life this turn. I don't have to sacrifice a permanent.
Yeah.
But even with sacrificing a permanent, like a 7/6 trampler does this end the game pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not something where like you can like it has trample, so you can't just like, oh, I'm gonna chump block it and make my opponent just smoke sack themselves at every turn. It's just like, no man, that's just gonna kill you fast.
Yeah, the fact too, the fact that we're playing Badger Mole Cub and Mosswood Dread Knight means we're insulated just a little bit if we have to sacrifice a permanent too, because we can either sack the Earthbended land, which just comes back as a land anyway, so it's like we didn't do anything.
Yeah,
And Mosswood Dread Knight actually then also gives us a card that we can um, cast with Adventure from our graveyard as well later and get
yeah.
it back. So I mean, there's like value plays that we can make with it, but like even you said, like in the worst case scenario, like just sacking a permanent to our 7/6 is we're still fine with that.
Yeah, like we're still killing our opponent pretty fast. Like
True.
worst case scenario, we're still killing them dead.
Get them dead. I
Exactly.
also have to eat shit because Decorium Dissertation in like the last top 8 list is at one of in the sideboard. And I talk shit about how like 5 mana to draw two and lose two is nothing. It's like I would absolutely love you to do that. So
I mean,
I guess players love to do it.
I'm still really happy. I think if my opponent is taking their turn 5 to do that.
Honestly, if they can afford to do it, then so be it. I mean, I want to be casting Sign in Blood every single turn, even if it is for free. But I also feel like I never have the time to do it.
That's fair. And
Ooze.
then, so I want to talk about the Selesnya green, like the green, the Selesnya build of kind of what we used to see here with the like nature rhythms deck essentially, where it's pretty self-explanatory. Like we're playing the four Gene Pollinator, the four Llanowar Owls, four Badgermole Cub, four Spider-Man Manifestation. And then we're also playing like White Glass Gearhawk, so we can go get things like Seam Rip or Maelstrom Strider's Resolve, um, or some other like one ofs essentially that can help out. You're playing Nature's Rhythm, so you can go get your Crater Hoof or your Ouroboros. And it's essentially like we're gonna make a big board state. We're gonna kill our opponents. I think this deck is still very much viable. I think that this deck is very dependent on what type of Izzet you expect to see to play against. Essentially, I think this deck is very good against everything that's not spellmentals. But that's actually, I don't think it's very good. I think it's very much playable against like the Izzet Prowess decks and stuff. Like you can definitely play around with them. Like I know I've seen what's his name, Young Dingo, played a lot of Selesnya and was able to get a positive win weight against Prowess as a whole. And he wasn't doing anything crazy. He wasn't like, well, I put 12 different one drops in my deck to stop the Prowess deck. He just played kind of smart, played tight. Essentially, is all you really need to do. So I think this deck is very much still playable, and I think we haven't seen kind of like the last of this deck. I think it feels like one of those decks where like people are like, ah, yeah, that's not a real deck anymore, and then it's gonna take down a tournament, and people are like, oh, that is powerful. It turns out putting a 4 drop into play that like pumps your entire board is still good. Who knew? Turn 5
Sheesh.
Crater Hoof is still good. Who knew?
We got them, boys.
So I do think this deck is still very much playable. I think it's I'm not necessarily underplayed, but I think it's just has been forgotten about. I think Standard has become a lot of decks that are still good but forgotten about, and it just takes one or two, good players to like, hey guys, do you remember how we used to play this deck and then we stopped playing it and now people don't have sideboard cards against it? What if we played it again? Wouldn't that be funny? And it's like, oh, I'm undefeated on day one. Crazy.
Yeah, quick how quick people are to forget that there was a point where where we have four Izzet decks now, there was like 4 or 5 different versions of like Ouroboros, and it was just all of them were like add a color. Well, this one is like also Bant, but it's more into the combo. This one is like, so there used to be all these different decks, and then they absolutely got trashed at the Pro Tour after dominating the regional championship literally a week prior.
Yeah. So I do think it is funny where like we're kind of seeing this like Standard's definitely going through a lot of cycles. I think this is a very healthy metagame because of that, right? Like this is what you want to see it to where like anything is playable. So like it's cool to see Standard being healthy, especially after having 2 Standard seasons where it was literally like, are you playing Is It Cutter or are you getting second place? Are you playing VB or are you getting 12th place? Like these are your choices.
Yeah, I think for probably for what it's worth, I mean there is a lot of versions of the Is It deck, but I think there's two very clear ones that players seem to gravitate towards more than the other ones. But then like in between like the 4 versions of Is It, we are seeing these different decks show up. We are seeing different decks, place in here. It just looks really bad when we have, two of one version of Is It and then like one or two of like another version and then maybe like a third one in there, and we look at it and we're like, this is like literally 7 Is It decks in the top 8 when it's really like between 4 different versions of it. That's probably still not good, but considering most of them are playing like the same core cards. But I mean, I guess I'm fine with it when there's also 3, 4, like 5 decks, and each of them kind of have like a version or two that you could play. Like I think I'm okay with that given the size of the standard format, which over under how many times they bring up this being the largest standard format ever played at the Pro Tour.
I mean, depending on how much you hate yourself, you just make it into a drinking game. I assume by the end of day one you're just dead from alcohol poisoning.
How many times it gets brought up how it's the largest standard format. Somebody makes a pun during the during the matches, because if we'd also included just total coverage, I think you would probably die from alcohol poisoning by like round 4. uh
No, I think it'd be around 5 or 6 because um, the first 3 rounds are going to be talking about the limited and how amazing this set is and how you should buy this set. And how we
mhm.
talked about how you should buy this set, you should go to your local game store and draft it because people definitely care about limited formats when we have 7 sets come out a year.
By the last in universe magic set to like October or something like that.
Exactly. Um,
I don't think that's
that
far
being
off of an exaggeration either, by the way.
probably not, probably not. That being said, though, I think there's a couple more decks we can talk about. I think there's 2 Demir decks that are running around. There's one that has a good win percentage, and there's one that has a 40% win percentage. So, um, if you want to play Demir, you should definitely be playing the Demir Excruciator. I don't know why I would keep wanting to say Executor. Excruciator deck. It's definitely like more of like it's definitely a mid range control type deck. Uh, for sure. We're like, you're trying to get Doomsday Executioner either into play or buy it back with Superior Spider-Man by having it in the graveyard. You're playing a bunch of removal spells and then draw spells, like playing Stock Up, Winter Night Stories. You have Deadly Cover Up, so you can kind of slow down the super aggro decks. You got Deceit that you get to play on turn 2. And you can also play on turn 4 with Spider-Man. Just overall, a solid deck. I don't think it's really gained anything with the new set. I'll double check, but I don't think
There's
there's
like
anything
one
too.
one massive one absolutely huge one.
Oh, it is playing the new Ancestral Recall. I mean, it makes
Yeah,
sense. This is
yeah.
a deck that can afford. This is one of the few decks that can afford to play a 5 drop for 5.
Oh my god, dude, in like Superior Spider-Man just getting to like copy this thing.
Oh, that is actually kind of cool.
And the like, since we're playing, actually is this version even playing? No, this version isn't even playing the the like essentially triple black, like draw three, lose three. It's literally just playing a Emeritus of Ideation, so you could force your opponent to like draw the cards.
Oh, that's good. I forgot Ancestral Recall says target player because I've never wanted to target anyone else besides myself with Ancestral Recall.
True. You know what? I should have put an asterisk on my statement earlier that you know your win percentage goes up exponentially when you resolve ancestral recall. The asterisk should read like you don't have to discriminate. You can target your opponent with this card, and your win rates still go up. And it's the asterisk is also referring to this deck.
Yeah, that's fair. I forgot that. I kind of forgot about the Ancestral Recall card.
Well, yeah, because I mean, most of the time it is just like ancestral target me, and you just don't even think about it. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Well, do you want me to draw three cards? Because I will, but
Unless
you're
you draw three cards when you have two cards left in your deck.
yeah, like when once you have yeah, exactly.
But
That
no,
is so sweet. Yeah, yeah.
I do think this deck will show back up in the Pro Tour. I, I honestly, I really hope this deck wins the Pro Tour, just for no other reason than it would be hilarious to see Doomsday somehow win three Pro Tours.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It would it would just be funny. I don't think this deck is like amazingly good. I think it's still a solid choice, for like what the metagame is, and like obviously depending on what you think the metagame is going to be and whatnot. But I do think it would just be absolutely hilarious to see this deck win like a third Pro Tour. Like just Doomsday being able to win three Pro Tours in his lifetime would be hilarious.
I wonder. We'll have to start having conversations like, is Doomsday Excruciator one of the best creatures of all time, being a part of two Pro Tour winning decks, and then winning a World Championship as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, just unreal, just unreal. Because I always feel like every time I play against this deck, it never feels good.
Mm.
But then I just watch I watch it on coverage and like I can't tell if people are really good at sleight of hand or this deck is just I'm always playing against like people who aren't playing the deck optimally.
Hey, you talked about Winter Night Stories. This deck also gets to play Winter Night Stories.
Yes. I need Winter Night Stories to be an instant. Can we just errata that real quick?
I think the part that probably upsets me the most about this is the fact that like a third of this deck's cost comes from the Cavern of Souls.
That's funny.
It's like here you go, like it's a $450 deck, but 150 that is going to be Cavern of Souls.
That's funny. But no, I think it's a solid deck. I mean, I guess anyone who doesn't know what this deck does, you're essentially trying to get Doomsday into play. It's a 6 mana 6/6 flying demon that you exile all but the bottom six cards of your library face down, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, you draw an additional card essentially. So your upkeep, you draw a card, then you draw a card for turn. You're trying to either cast this or play it with Superior Spider-Man with it in the graveyard, and then your goal is to essentially attack your opponent with a Relentless Reef, have them mill four cards, and then you're just gonna win the game because they're gonna deck themselves before you will deck yourself. And you just play a bunch of interaction with removal spells, stock up in Winter Night Stories as a way to find your combo, and you get the seat to interact with them. And now you also get Essential Recall on a stick as well. So deck is good. It's your typical blue black control deck. It just has a combo finish, so you're not trying to win the game on turn 20. You're trying to win the game on like turn 4.
I might just sell everything and I'm gonna buy stock in Demir Excruciator. I can't bet against Ancestral Recall. That goes against every fiber of my being.
Don't do it. It's a
I'll
trap.
I'll bet against Regrowth. That's fine. Like Regrowth, Reanimate, even Lightning Bolt. I'll go against that. Ancestral, I just can't bring myself to do it.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Shoot.
Then I so we have the other Jameer deck, the Jameer mid range deck.
Gross.
That are they playing anything new?
They're playing the
I
beat.
don't
Oh
think
no, well, sorry, not
the
secrets new.
yeah. No, not even in the sideboard.
But we got the
Okay.
beaver.
So Jameer mid range has not changed pretty much at all. Like they've added new cards, but like nothing crazy. They got the new Dream Beaver, which is just another 1/1 for one flying creature that lets you poop out Kaido easier because it's not gonna be blocked. It also lets you drain one, gain one, and scry one. They're playing Super Shard now because the deck that plays to the board and plays removal finally realized that having a menace creature that whenever another permanent leaves the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature is good. I don't know why this deck took a long time for Superstar to make it way into it. Uh, and then you're still playing Enduring Curiosity. Some are playing Tidebinder, some are playing Washington or Washington is what it's
Hmm.
been nicknamed. You're still playing Kaido. You got Spell Snare, Bitter Triumph, Shoot the Sheriffs. It's like your removal spells and counter spells, along with Requiting Hex. It's pretty much the same deck it's been since Demir mid-range made its way all the way back and when Beams was still playable. Like the deck really hasn't changed much. You've changed out some creatures here and there, but it's a deck playing to the board, trying to cast like Enduring Curiosity and Kaido to get advantage and kind of steamroll your opponents over with. They really plan on trying to get an early Kaido down just to get good card advantage and then trying to carry their way to victory off of the back of a Kaido and an Enduring Curiosity. Overall, I think the deck's very mediocre. There's still a lot of diehard players who are playing it. It puts up numbers every week, but I can't bring myself to play it. Every time I play against it, it always feels like I'm just got a free buy. It loses hard to a lot of the green decks that are running around because they go over top of it. The Izzet decks kind of like bully it too. I'm honestly not sure what the good matchups are for Demir mid range besides like control.
All of
I
them.
I I don't know. Like Demir mid range feels like a bad deck. It puts up numbers. If you want to play it, have at it. It always seems like it has like a 40% win rate, and people love to play it.
Of course, everyone's gonna love playing this deck.
I don't know why people love to play this deck. I have not figured out why.
Well, you see, because players really like playing mopey like uh, black blue cards, and they don't want to be called a mill deck. They don't want to be called a mill player, so they just play like super fancy ooh like blue black value, but getting
All
none
right.
of the
Yeah.
value now because I think Extruder gets to have all the fun and the value of being the Demir deck.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I still understand. Like I don't understand who this is for, but we'll leave it as is.
We'll leave it
Um,
alone.
and then I kind of want to talk about Jeskai Control because I think it got the biggest upgrade as a whole from the new set. It's gets to play Resonating Loot. It's a 4 mana artifact. It's blue, red, and two. And lands you control have tap. Add 2 mana of any color of any one color. Spend this mana only to cast instant sorcery spells, and you can tap, draw a card, activate only if you have 7 or more cards in your hand. And so now Jeskai just kind of plays all spells. It's a kind of an oops all spell deck, except it also plays land still.
True.
But them being able to cast Jeskai Revelation kind of easier now, and then they're still just like they're basically just a bunch of counter spells, removal spells. They're playing flashback as well, which I think is kind of interesting, which makes sense though, being able to rebuy Jeskai, uh, your Jeskai Revelation, or like a timely counter spell or removal spell seems good. Also, notably, this list was playing 4 of the Great Hall, which I think is interesting. Like it's just another win con for the deck.
Mm.
Yeah, this is Claudio's version. He got third place in a challenge. I kind of trust him.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right.
The
I was like, seems good enough to trust.
I think what makes flashback a little bit better too. I mean, specifically for like your high value spells, we'll call them with like resonating loot in play. You get to use all of your mana from like 2 lands, so you can make 4 mana with 2 lands to cast like stock up and use all your mana, and then also Jeskai Revelation. You can end up casting it off of 4 lands even after a flashback,
Yeah.
which I think is just really neat. We just call that good deck building.
Yeah, no, I think the deck is I think Jeskai Control has gotten a lot better as a whole, and I'm kind of curious to see how well Jeskai Control does moving forward. Because like, it's a good deck, but like it still suffers from the same problem where like prowess can still overrun you. You still kind of have, excuse me, still kind of have like a bad mana base as a whole. Like sometimes your versions just aren't turned on. Sometimes this doesn't work. Like you can still have like bad things. So it'll be interesting to see how well this deck does at the Pro Tour, but I think this is going to be I think this deck has a very good possibility of doing really well in the Pro Tour.
The thing I kind of wish, even though I'm not a control player and I trust Claudio with any deck that plans on winning the game after like turn 15, I kind of wish that there was that the draw spell that was in the Is It deck. The
Flow.
was it the flow? The like you deal X damage and then you draw 2, discard a card.
Oh no, traumatic critique.
Traumatic critique. I kind of wish that just only because we're playing Resonating Loot. I'm sure the deck doesn't need a card that just sometimes might be 2 mana, like draw 2, discard, or yeah, draw 2, discard a card. But I don't know. I feel like one has to be in here, right? Or could be put in here.
Yeah, I could see one being put in here. Like I don't think that's a crazy idea. Honestly, I think
What's this?
that's kind of wild. Notably, Claudio's list was playing no like Dave Judgments in the main.
Damn.
Yeah, so he's just like four removal spells. He has two fire magics, three abrades, two get lost, two lightning helix, and three Jeskai revelations and two seam rips. That's like his removal spells of choice.
I'm even seeing the most recent list, which just missed out on top 8 on the 25th. Isn't playing flashback, but is playing oh my god, improvisation capstone, which is like the red sorcery lesson that lets you exile until you get 4 total mana or more worth of things, and you can cast them for free. And
Okay,
then
that's
and then
interesting.
2 Dave Judgment in the sideboard, or 2 Dave Judgment main, 1 in the sideboard.
Interesting.
Sheesh.
But yeah, it's kind of cool to see. Like, I think Control is possibly in an okay spot, as I talk about Isn't Prowess being a really well positioned deck.
Mm-hmm.
The Super Aggro deck seems like it's really good position. This Control deck is definitely good position. Like, so it'll be, I don't know. I think this Pro Tour is going to shape up to be something very interesting, and I think the RCs are going to be very interesting to see as well. I think we're going to see a lot of people trying to just make their own destiny with like what they're bringing, and then I think we're going to see a lot of innovation in the Izza decks as a whole.
Last thing I'll say about like these Jeskai decks, because I was looking at another player's list. They're playing Northwind Avatar, which is the dragon
Mhm.
from TMNT that will go and get a card from outside of the game if you cast it from your hand, and then playing 1 Mathemagics in the sideboard.
The 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 win con.
The win con being making your opponent do math. I'm gonna say X equals was like X equals 6, and they're like, is that enough? And I was like, you tell me, is this worth countering?
Yes, because X equal, like, are you saying it's six isn't like you're paying 12 mana into it?
Yeah, X equals 6.
Yeah, because X equals 5 would be 32.
Yeah.
So yes.
64, 128, 256. I actually had my math teacher said like I could remember like I think up to like the 20th power, like the 18th power worth of like, to the whatever exponent. And I like took that as a personal challenge, and I got somewhere in like the millions or whatever. I don't know, but like which I don't even think comes close to like 18, but still I took it as a challenge.
But I mean, I think that's kind of my takeaway for this Pro Tour is that I think we're going to see a lot of different builds of Is It float around. I'm curious to see what ends up being the best build of Is It. I'm curious to see if people kind of realize that Spellmentals is really well positioned or if it falls away to the wayside. I'm curious to see if Demir Executor or Doomsday can like just take down a win again for no reason. just somehow just somehow take another Pro Tour win for no reason. Um,
Oh yeah, definitely. I think this is going to be Pro Tour Izzet decks versus the non Izzet decks, the anti heroes versus, I guess, the guys that you're kind of forced to root for because you really don't want to see Steam Vents win another Pro Tour.
Yeah, exactly. I do think though it is nice though that like it's a bunch of different Izzet decks. Like we're not in the same boat like we always were, where it's like, well, it's Corey Steelcutter versus the world, or it's VV versus the world. It's now it's like, well, it's prowess, or it's the bounce deck, or it's spellmentals, or it's lessons versus the world. So it'll be it's a lot more interesting, a lot more different gameplay. So I'm really excited to see like what happens there. But overall, like this is kind of like my takeaway is I think that is it will be the most represented color choice at the Pro Tour. Like once you combine them all up, but I don't think it's gonna win the tournament. I think it'll be something else,
Sheesh.
and I'm hoping that we can get maybe one new deck out of the Pro Tour. I think that'd be cool if we could just get like a new deck that isn't being played, like not like a different take on Demir or a different take on you know the rhythm decks or whatever. Like just something new that isn't being done yet. That would be cool. But otherwise, I think it's gonna be a really healthy metagame. Like it's gonna look unhealthy if you combine all the Izzet decks. But if you take it away, like the different decks as a whole, I think it's gonna be a very healthy metagame. I don't think we're going to see anything crazy. It's not going to be like 60% is playing is a prowess. I don't think we're going to see that.
Well, no, we're definitely saved because it's gonna be Wizards, and they're gonna make sure that like all those versions of is that there's anything that hints that it could be one way or another, and we could split the hairs to like put it in a different category to bring the numbers down to one while raising the numbers of the other. We will absolutely do that. I don't think we'll see a crazy. I mean, I totally agree with you. We would see a crazy number of like Steam events that are registered for the event, and I think we'll get the like card by card breakdown and everything. I don't know. I think maybe we'll get deck list, or at least we'll get the metagame percentage Thursday.
Yeah,
We'll get an idea Thursday before they draft on Friday. Um, but yeah, I mean, we could see a pretty dramatic metagame that is just like is it decks with other decks peppered in between them.
yeah, I definitely think that's what's going to happen. I'm going to say that like Steam Vents will definitely be the most registered card. Like I guess the red blue lands will be the most registered card for sure.
Guaranteed four of in every single deck.
Well, no, actually, I'm gonna say Steam Vents is gonna be the most registered card because some number of people will play Jeskai Control and that plays Steam Vents too. So like Steam Vents is gonna be the most registered card, without a doubt.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go Island. Because like all the decks that are playing four Steam vent, well, most of the decks that are playing four Steam vents are also playing like seven
Seven
islands
islands,
or
yes.
up to eight. Like it's
Okay, Steam Vents is gonna be the most registered like non-basic
non-basic.
land. Yeah, but yeah, Island would definitely be the most. Like Island would be the most just by looking at the metagame breakdown already. With all the blue, like all the Izza decks are running like seven islands. Plus, Jeskai I think runs one island. Plus, Demir mid range runs islands. Plus, like the other random blue decks that are being played runs some number of islands. Like so,
I know.
yes,
I had to bring out the technically actually
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but yeah, I think the Pro Tour is always I think it's always fun for me to watch because it's kind of like the draft where I'm like I think I have a pretty good idea what's going on, and then turns out I just have no idea what's going on in like the context of these people who literally all sit in a house together for like 3 or 4 days and just jam out games of Magic like left, right, and center, all playing like 15 different archetypes to nail it down to like three for the whole team. Like
yeah.
turns out I have no idea what's going on. I thought I knew. I have no clue.
So I almost always just don't watch the drafting portion because like limited was never like a big thing for me, and I can't get into limited now in the sense of like because there's 7 sets a year or 6 sets a year. Like even if like I was a big limited player, like at most you're gonna draft a set like maybe once or twice before the next set's already being talked about.
Sometimes you don't even get that. Sometimes like the next set is already being spoiled and or thrown into the packages of the set that you're currently playing.
Yeah, true, true.
You don't even get the reprieve.
Unfortunately, but I think I think that gives a pretty good comprehensive of what the standard metagame is now that we've had, secrets out for a couple days of what people are trying to do with it. Obviously, it's not everything that's going to be out there. Like I said, we're putting the greatest minds of Magic in one spot. Someone's going to come up with something that no one thought of. Whether it's good will be very questionable, but they'll come up with something that is is different. So
Mm. You put a bunch of monkeys in a room with a typewriter, you'll end up getting is it Vivi? So eventually, with enough time, like we'll eventually find like the tier 0 deck of the format.
yeah, I don't think there is a tier 0 deck as it stands right now in standard. I think it's with how large it is and how many options there are. I don't think there is a tier 0 deck.
Loot plus mathemagics. Make your opponent do the math.
But you got anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you got to say?
No, just I expect to see quite a bit, honestly, of the Secret Strixhaven set. It's going to be interesting if we get any mention of any of the new sets that are going to be coming out, because I did fact check myself. The next in-universe set does come out at the beginning of October with Reality Break.
Awesome. Yeah, I say the next set is Marvels, right? It's just Marvels, like
Marvel
in,
Heroes, and then I want to say the Lord of the Rings set comes out after that, and then we get Reality Break.
yeah, and then we get Star Trek, right?
Star Trek, yes,
And the Lord of the Rings is Hobbit, right? It's the Hobbit set.
yeah. Decimation of wallets.
I look forward to the Hobbit set because there's going to be a special or like um what do they call it? The guest cards or secret cards or whatever.
Guest something special
Yeah,
guest.
special guest cards. There's going to be a One Ring. I'm calling it. I'm calling it because it's the most obvious reprint to put in the special guest.
The One Ring. There's gonna be Sauron in there.
One Ring Sauron. There's going to be a I bet you Orcus Bowmasters is also in the special guest.
Just the greatest hits from the original.
Lord of the Rings, yeah. But I
You
look
got
forward to seeing what the Pro Tour offers us. And I look forward to talking about it here in a week or two about what happened at the Pro Tour and kind of our takeaways from it and what we can expect to see moving towards the RCs like with Cincinnati and DC because I
yeah.
don't remember the ones that aren't in my country.
Yeah, I mean we'll try to keep an eye on them the best we can, but yeah, I mean those are gonna be the big ones. Regional championship. Yeah, the Cincinnati regional championship takes place 2 weeks after the Pro Tour, so we're
Yeah,
gonna have a
which I
little.
think
Go ahead.
I think that's the first RC of the season too.
Yeah, so we'll have a little bit of time after the Pro Tour to kind of let the format breathe and see like okay where kind of things shape up from there. Unlike the inverse where we had the RC a week before the Pro Tour, and again, turns out we just had no idea what the fuck we were talking about because we're like, well, we're just gonna see a mishmash of Ouroboros freaking rhythm decks, and then they just got absolutely toasted, done and dusted, and then kind of went on a hiatus.
Yeah,
And then Is It Lessons came back. So
we're just gonna keep cycling through. It's just a giant circle.
true. But yeah, I don't have anything else.
No, I think I'm good for today.
Alrighty, folks, that's going to wrap up this episode, Pro Tour Secrets of Strixhaven edition. I hope you all have enjoyed the episode. If you did make it to the end, be sure to leave a like on the video and comment down below what you're excited for Pro Tour Lorwyn Eclipse. And yeah, again, be sure to subscribe to the channel to be notified of future episodes. And we'll hopefully we're back next week with the result. Well, yeah, I guess by the time we record, we won't technically have the results, but we should have a pretty good idea of what happened at the Pro Tour and
Yeah, what's doing well at least.
yeah.
Also, it is Pro Tour Secrets of Strixhaven, not Lord of Wind Eclipse.
Did I say Lorwyn Eclipse?
You did.
I wish it was Pro Tour Lure when Eclipse. Like, let's run it back. Yeah. We'll recap as much as we can of the secrets of Strixhaven Pro Tour and gear up for Regional Championship Cincinnati and the Regional Championship season, while also keeping an eye on the modern format as we continue to go through the modern RCQ season, which is going to be pretty exciting as we potentially see some impact from the Secret Strixhaven set in the modern format as well. So a lot of fun stuff, a lot of cool stuff going on in Magic.
Oh yeah, Magic is back.
We're
Or
so back.
at least interesting. We're not just running back standard for the fourth season.
Oh, dude, back like we never left.
Exactly.
But, wherever you are watching, have a good morning, good afternoon, and a good night wherever you are. We're going to sign off for this episode. Again, be sure to subscribe, all that fun stuff. Leave a like on the video. Helps us get noticed, helps us reach more people, and kind of grow our audience and everything. So I know we greatly appreciate it. Until next time, we hope to see you all in the next episode.
Bye.
I think my wrist started clicking.